weren't sure. You know, the contractor himself guessed at about 100,000. And you know, we'd started.
Somebody's sawing wood.
Chainsaw, huh? Get that chainsaw out of here.
Yeah, he can hear that.
I mean, it's like
you could pick it up.
And from Arizona.
What they would do is they didn't emulsify the brick because as soon as you got the roof on, you put long enough overhang, the rain's never going to hit it anyway. They just put a little mud coat on it all, you know, and paint it, and then you don't have the erosion. But if you don't get that thing covered with a roof before you hit a big monsoon, your whole house is going to melt, you know, and that's what happens to a lot of them. They just remake the brick, put them back up. There you go.
What do you think we can try?
Sure.
Let's
go. Let's
we'll
do
probably
it.
get another round of Harleys firing up in a minute. Figure they're going to run home
Yeah,
report
last weekend was worse.
Report to the
last
wives.
weekend they had the big Harley Davidson get together.
Okay, let's see. Now I got to find where I was.
About the number brick.
Yeah.
The north wall on the Mission was a fairly massive wall.
The number of bricks.
Yeah, I know, but I'm moving into that.
He's going to move into
Yeah.
it
Sneakily.
sneakily.
Yeah. You know,
I knew that horn was coming.
I may not have time to ask that question. The restoration clearly involved a major undertaking. There had to have been an incredible number of bricks. In your wildest guess, about how many bricks would you estimate went into the reconstruction of the side aisles?
Yeah, the number of bricks was a big question, I think, right off the bat when we started this. How many is it going to take? How many can we make? Have we got the capabilities of getting it done? I think even the contractor himself, you know, questioned that. So that's why there was a big push on to get as many bricks as we could make in the good weather, get them covered up, and be ready when we needed them. So I think he guessed that we'd need around 100,000 too, just so they'd have extra in case, you know, they decided to do another section that needed restoration, other than what they'd already planned on originally. But as far as I can remember, we probably made 60 to 70,000, and everyone was used, including a lot of the old bricks that we took out of the restoration as we were working on tearing down the damaged parts of the walls that were still existing. We saved a lot of the original bricks and did reuse them, because like I say, even though they weren't emulsified, they still could be used in a wall like that and then covered up with a plaster, and it would have been fine for use. So the old bricks were just as good as the new ones, maybe in some cases better.
You mentioned something about the appropriate time to make the bricks because of the weather. When was that time?
Yeah, most of our brick was made in the spring and in the fall. In the summer, it was too hot for bricks to cure well. It took about 7 days for the adobe bricks to actually cure to where you could lift them up and put them on a pallet and be stacked. After one day, on a good warm day, you put the brick up on edge, from a flat position to an edge position. And then after about 7 days, they could be moved. You put them up on edge so that they actually could be, the air could hit both the bottom and the top side of the brick, and they cure from the center out. And they were very stable that way. If you hit a real hot day, a lot of bricks cracked. They weren't usable. But they were tested for pressure testing, so that they were to code, actually, which the old bricks that the Indians made weren't to code, but many of them were very, very strong. You could hardly break them if you tried. And you used to have to throw them into the machinery to get rid of some of the old debris and stuff. A lot of them would just, you know, as soon as you threw it, it would stay fine. No broken brick. But that wasn't true of the ones that were made when it was very hot. You could throw that thing on the ground and it would just splatter into a lot of pieces. So the weather was very important on making brick.
I wanted to ask again, do you remember the specific number of months that were involved in the making of the bricks?
Yeah. Okay. The number of months that it took to make the 60 to 70,000 that we did make, probably was. There he goes again. He's leaving town. Yeah.
Please. Okay.
The number of months that it took to actually make the brick were probably in the neighborhood of 6 to 7 months that we ended up just making brick. Although during that time, the whole crew didn't work on just making the adobes. They were already starting to do some of the excavation inside that needed to be done so that we could set the new roof and pouring of concrete and whatever. But it didn't take a lot of time to make that many brick, even with a small crew. Being that we did make in the neighborhood of 1,000 brick a day on an average work day for 5 guys.
We get.
How did you get involved in the project for the restoration of the side aisles?
Well, I heard about the restoration in the newspaper that they are actually going to start doing it, that Harry Downey was going to be in charge of it, and that Mike Taylor Construction Company from Santa Cruz was going to be actually the main contractor on it. And I had done a little bit of building before that, but mostly at home on the ranch and things, and I thought, this might be a good experience to get outside, do something new, and actually do something for the church that I was part of. So I just approached them down here one day while they were working and got a job.
How long did you work on the project? I know you mentioned something about that earlier, but how many months specifically did you work on the project?
As I recall, I probably spent about 18 months of my life working here on the restoration. Some of the boys were here before me that came with the contractor from Santa Cruz, but I got on about 2 months after they had started. They had already made a few brick, and they had a pretty good system down, and of course it made many bricks before that other places, but being that we had the rodeo grounds, nice flat area, easy access to a lot of materials, it was something that you caught on to pretty quick. Back-breaking work, but it was fun to see how many we could make, and know that someday we're going to get to actually put them in a wall. For a while it was like, making brick every day, making brick. It did actually see, now we can see what it made, and it feels pretty good.
Who worked with you on the project?
There was Lou Pertano, who was our tractor driver. Mike Havens-Cook, who I actually got him interested in coming to work here after he graduated from Stanford and didn't have anything else to do. Let's see, there was Frank Calasopa, who was a local farmer, had sheep, hogs, that kind of thing. And he'd done construction work before, but he thought, well, you know what? It's a good place to get a job working, non-union. At the time, they were a non-union organization. And maybe work with some people he knew. He knew me before he'd worked here. I'm trying to think. David Medeiros, who was an alder boy here, was one of the workers. And then one of my brothers, Dennis Holthouse, actually got a job later on working here. And my mom was a secretary for Mike Taylor for a while. So my family got involved quite a bit. I think they were encouraged by what they saw about the restoration finally coming to the site where we could see what was happening. And they all wanted to get involved.
We've heard a little bit about volunteerism. How many volunteers were involved in the project along with the working crew?
Yeah. Well, I think San Juan, like I say, being the mission being the center of the core of San Juan, everybody wanted to get involved if they could, somehow. And a lot of people did during benefits and fundraisers, bake sales, everything you could think of, rodeo. So there were a lot of volunteers, a lot of them unsung too. We'd get our names in the papers because we were on the crew, but there were a lot of people that never got mentioned, but they all seemed to be glad when the mission was restored.
As far as the